We are live. Hello, friends. Today we're talking about vitamin B12. I'm Tara Quintana. If this is the first time we're meeting, I'm a nurse practitioner that specializes in functional medicine. I have been wanting to do a show on this super vitamin for a very long time. It definitely deserves an episode of its own. What does B12 do for our body? We're going to talk about food sources for that contain B12, those at risk for deficiency, where we will touch on genetics. If you know me, you know I love talking about genetics. What are the downstream effects of low B12? We are going to dive deep, my friends. Are you ready? I'm ready. If you are in the live stream today, thank you for being a part of my maiden voyage. I have so many wonderful plans for the future of this podcast, and I want to start challenging myself more. Live streaming is a different beast. I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast. I absolutely love her. She is a true gem. She did a show on goal setting and the science behind goal setting. I loved that episode. I will link it up in the show notes. It really made me think about my goals. Are they specific, measurable? One of my goals, I will share this with you, my friends, is to do live content. Believe it or not, being in front of a camera live makes me very nervous. I grew up in the theater. I was using the other side of my brain for more than half of my life. But for some reason, being on stage was a total different ballgame because I was someone else. In this arena, being live as myself, it makes me nervous. So I am challenging myself. Speaking of crowds, I have a fabulous announcement to make. If you live in Indiana or plan on traveling here, which you absolutely should, from June 9th through June 11th, I will be at the 17th Annual Women's Mountain Bike Festival, which will be held at Brown County State Park. I have taken this clinic, then I worked my butt off and became certified to teach mountain biking and taught at this clinic. Whether you ride bikes or not, it is such a fun event. There are festivities other than mountain biking, including live music, yoga, an interactive cooking class, wine and canvas. Oh, and they are having a guest speaker. Any guesses to who the guest speaker is? Yours truly. When I was asked to speak at this event, it made me nervous. So here we are. The event, I will be kicking it off on June 9th at 6:30 p.m. and I will do a live podcast. I have a great topic planned. If you would like to come and hang out with me in person, have a glass of wine, meet some really cool people, I will link it up in the show notes so that you can get information for how to register for this event. And Sally, my awesome friend who is the owner of Sundance Mountain Bike Skills Clinic, has been kind enough to offer several discounts for my viewers and listeners. I hope to see you all there. Where were we? Ah, yes, vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is a water-soluble vitamin, and it is vitally important for brain function, for cognition. We need B12 for our central nervous system to function properly. B12 is essential for the formation of red blood cells, cell metabolism, our eyesight, our energy. B12 is also necessary for both creating and regulating DNA. Friends, B12 is so important to vitally understand. I spoke about my genetics on previous shows, and I also have the FUT2, which stands for fucosyltransferase 2, GA genotype, which means my ability to absorb and transport vitamin B12 is likely reduced. I may be prone to bacterial infections, gut inflammation, and B12 malabsorption. A few years ago, my primary checked my vitamin B12 and it was very low. Not just barely deficient, but markedly low. I was expressing this genotype. Since working on optimizing my levels, I feel better than I have ever felt. Obviously, what I mean here is I have never felt this good. I used to have horrific headaches, and I know I've spoken about this before. Back in my sweet tart days, I was barely consuming any nutrient dense foods. And to be honest, this went on for most of my life. Eating a diet rich in highly processed foods, some of which may be fortified with vitamins, synthetic vitamins, but will you absorb these fortified synthetic vitamins properly? There are many variables to consider when thinking about our unique bodies. I am a really big fan of genetic testing, or at least genetic consideration. We write script after script to band aid symptoms, but we may inadvertently cause new symptoms or new diseases. I'll give you an example. Metformin reduces B12 absorption. When your practitioner handed you the script, okay, in this day and age, it's electronically sent, but did they let you know you will likely be B12 deficient? Probably not. In my practice, I have seen many individuals on metformin, and when I asked them if they were aware of this, all of them said no. That is not okay. While we're on this train, let's talk about PPIs. When we do not have adequate stomach acid, we are likely not absorbing B12 properly. We do not take metformin or a PPI or any other medication and think we're going to have these downstream effects. This is significant. And also, my friends, do not stop taking your PPI or metformin or any medication or supplement based on anything that you hear on this podcast or on my website. I want you to know these things so that you are empowered to speak with your practitioner. By the way, have you heard the news? I have my own telehealth practice. My schedule is quickly filling up. If you are interested in working with me and live in Indiana, head on over to my website, www.thefunctionalnursepractitioner.com, and click on the link to book your free introductory call. Food sources that are rich in B12 include fish, chicken, turkey, meat, dairy, eggs. Vegetarians and vegans need to prioritize B12 and will likely need supplementation. We will get into my favorite form of B12 supplements in a little bit. There are quite a few. When we consume foods rich in B12, there are other things to consider. Digestion does not start in your stomach. It actually does not start in your mouth either. It starts in your brain. Downregulating our sympathetic nervous system is crucial for proper absorption of nutrients, amongst other things. If we are eating in the car, eating on the go, not sitting down, and thoughtfully eating, we may have severe downstream effects. Stress plays a major role in proper absorption. I have run so many adrenal panels in my practice. I love looking at cortisol because it is such an issue for, well, everyone that I have tested, including myself. If our cortisol is elevated, we will not absorb the nutrients necessary to thrive. We went in depth, my friends, all about cortisol, my most popular series, episodes 13, 14, and 15. If you missed any of those episodes, go back and listen or re listen. When we allow our bodies to digest, to rest, when we prepare to eat a meal, and we tap into our parasympathetic nervous system, we put ourselves in an optimal state for digestive health. The act of chewing also greatly matters. B12 is bound to the protein in our foods and needs to be freed from the protein before it is absorbed. Our saliva and chewing help to free B12. This process continues to our stomach. Our stomach acid helps more B12 to be released from our food, continuing down the line of our digestive tract into the duodenum. B12 then combines with intrinsic factor and is then absorbed in the distal ileum, which is the last part of our small intestine. There is a lot going on in our bodies that we really need to appreciate what our bodies do every day without us even thinking about it. And friends, there is no judgment here. Remember, I lived a stressed life. I ate on the go. I consumed processed foods and sweet tarts. I felt terrible and I didn't know why. When things started spiraling out of control for me, I had to take a really good look at what I was doing, my role in the disease processes. This is where functional medicine truly shines. When we start at the roots instead of the branches and the leaves of the tree, we can heal the disease. In conventional medicine, we stay on the branches and the leaves. Disease doesn't start there. If you're thinking right now, what on earth is she talking about? Functional medicine uses a tree as a way of understanding what the body does. I love this analogy because it makes so much sense. When I first partner with my clients, I provide them with this functional medicine tree. And we talk about how addressing the roots can impact our bodies, how we handle stress, sleep, what kind of social support we have, all matters. We will move the needle much faster and farther when we look to the roots. Your B12 may be low because your cortisol is high. Your cortisol may be high because you work through lunch and you do not practice self-care. We can pump you full of supplements, but if we don't address the root, we are missing the mark. What are some of the downstream effects of a B12 deficiency? Fatigue, headaches, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, memory issues, depression, anxiety, mood changes, shortness of breath, loss of appetite, heart palpitations, vision issues, mouth ulcers, a red or sore tongue, muscle weakness, numbness and tingling, balance issues, incontinence, cognitive changes, including dementia. Low B12 can lead to anemia, which explains some of the possible downstream effects of having low B12, like shortness of breath and fatigue. This is a very long list, and I don't know about you, but I don't want any of these issues. And some of these can result in irreversible, severe damage to your brain and nervous system. I want to point out, even if you have a mild deficiency, or you may not even be deficient at all, you're just on the lower end of the range, you may still have symptoms. How do we test for B12? The most common test is a blood test. The range is broad, and typically I aim for the middle of this range. Another test to look at is methylmalonic acid, or MMA. MMA is a B12 associate metabolite and is a much more sensitive marker for what your B12 level is. Different than serum, the higher level is more suggestive of a B12 deficiency. There are other factors that could cause MMA to rise, so that needs to be factored in. If you have a B12 deficiency, checking for intrinsic factor antibodies is advisable. There could be an autoimmune process going on, and you know how passionate I am about autoimmunity. What are some types of B12 supplements available? Methylcobalamin and 5-deoxyadenosylcobalamin are the most active forms of vitamin B12 and what I typically recommend. There are also two other forms, cyanocobalamin and hydroxycobalamin. The form I usually see someone taking is cyanocobalamin, but I recommend one of the metabolically active forms instead. Definitely speak with your practitioner about your unique needs. I always recommend retesting also, because we need to ensure that you are on the right dose. When I recommend a supplement, it is usually a B complex. I do not like separating out the B vitamins, as they are an integral part of cellular methylation. This is where personalized medicine can provide a better foundation for optimizing your health. If you have not had your B12 level tested, or you have any of the symptoms that I mentioned, or you are a vegan or vegetarian, or have celiac disease, I recommend speaking with your practitioner about testing so you can be optimized. I do not believe in magical supplements, but I do believe in strategic supplementation. That is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into this crucial vitamin on my first ever live stream. Be sure to check the show notes for all of the info we talked about, and I will be adding more in if I'm missing anything. So if you see anything missing, drop me a comment and say, hey, you said you were going to have such and such, and I will make sure to add it. I hope to see you at the live mountain bike event on June 9th. I hope you enjoyed spending time with me today, friends, and I will see you very soon. Bye, guys.